Welcome to our specialized training course. In this recording, we are going to talk about dyslexic students in our universities. After a short warm-up, let's study what it means to be adult with dyslexia, then a few words about diagnosis and access to educational support. But to start with, a short warm-up. In a moment, please stop the recording for 1 to 2 minutes, study the list below and select 4 or 3 things which your students most struggle with. When you have finished, please continue with the recording. The listing on the previous slide showed some potential challenges among dyslexic adults. When we recognize these challenges in student behavior with the same student frequently, time and time again, and the student actually seems to try their best, but they still struggle and struggle, that is actually a wake-up call for us who work at a university. We can start thinking that, okay, might there be a learning difficulty behind this challenge? And could we then recommend the student to seek further support for the challenge? This is not so simple every time, but it might be worthwhile talking about this possibility with the students. It might be well that they are not aware of the support that exists. At the same time, it's of course good to think, are our materials and processes clear and inclusive enough? Support measures are many times crucial for dyslexic students to make sure that they can get through their studies, pass their courses, and then get the degree. But good educational support is then beneficial to everyone. For example, clear instructions, good materials. Everyone benefits. We can every once in a while reflect what kind of task or instructions often lead to a struggle. And how do the students react? Do they, for example, keep asking again and again for explanation? That is, for example, one sign that might tell us that there is something to do with the material, or if it's a problem of an individual student, it might be a signal to advise them towards further help. When a student starts seeking for help with dyslexia for the first time, we come to talk about diagnosis. Dyslexia can be formally identified through diagnostic assessment, and it is always done by a certified assessor. There are a few advantages of a formal diagnosis. The official ones are that the dyslexia is covered by an Equality Act in many countries, and that means that, for example, universities, but also workplaces, have to do reasonable adjustments to make sure that the person copes in the surroundings. The more individual, or let's say human, approach to diagnosis is that many adults find it reassuring to have a formal diagnosis. It often helps them to understand the reason behind the difficulties. If a person is, for example, diagnosed with dyslexia as an adult, they have lived with the challenge for their whole lives, perhaps always felt that they are slower than the others, they have it more difficult to concentrate, but the diagnosis can then give them an explanation of what's behind it. And the assessment lists not only the weaknesses, but also the strengths. So the person becomes more aware of the strengths, which then helps them to make most of the abilities. And success, not only in the studies, but also later on in their professional life. Then a few words about the educational support. When, for example, dyslexia is recognized, the student is actually entitled to additional assistance during the education. This can, for example, be using learning technologies, some extra mentoring, perhaps access to some audiobooks or extra times for exams. We are going to discuss this variety in the following presentation. But nevertheless, for the student, it is very important to be aware of the support that is available for them and to know how to access the support at the university. And through these steps, the student then finds strategies and routines which make the studies as successful as possible. For us who work at a university, it's naturally, of course, important to know which support measures are available and how do the students access this support so that we can also guide our students whenever needed. And of course, in the frame of our own working roles at the university. Thank you for listening to this short presentation. In the end, we want to emphasize that dyslexia is a very complex phenomenon, and this presentation is an introduction and aims to give higher education professionals everyday tools and knowledge which make working with special needs students more successful. For further reading, we can recommend International Dyslexia Association and British Dyslexia Association websites. You can also find your national educational institution for dyslexia and special needs support. They can often provide information and examples in your local language. Thank you for listening.